All right, everybody. What's up? What's up? Another G-Shock has made its way into my collection, which I will have to stop at some point, or I'm going to need a bigger watch case because I think that one tops out at 24 watches, and I think we're about to fill it. So hit like, subscribe. Doing another value watch. I like some of the nicer-ish watches, the Citizens and Seikos and Tissot's and stuff, but I am a sucker for, cheap but good watches. Real quick wrist check, rocking my Pagani design. I forget the model number. I replaced the bracelet with the NATO strap for it. I think it complements it really nice with that white and orange, kind of gives like a creamsicle color with the light silver. I think it's a great color combination, but that's my Pagani GMT, which I guess is an homage to a Rolex Explorer 2. If I was going to get a Rolex, that'd probably be the one I would get. We're here to talk about that. I just always do a wrist check. So what are we looking at? This is one I don't really know about, and I think it's one of the newer-ish models that no one really talks about, so it seemed kind of interesting to me. So it's the GA2000 something or another. So it doesn't come in the cheap Walmart cardboard box that you normally get, what the real cheap watches, like this one and that one. But it's not in the metal G-Shock tin either. It's kind of in between. So at least it's sort of nice. Maybe that goes with the watch and how it is a bit different than a lot of the other G-Shocks. So it's got your typical manual in the box, which will be offered in like 15 languages. You got your silica that says do not eat, but what do they know? You're not my boss. You are not my supervisor. Don't tell me what to do. If I want to eat it, I'm going to eat that shit. So what is it? Well, it's an analog digital, which is kind of like the Casio in that regard, but I think it's a bit different. What's the biggest departure is going to be the case design and probably the strap from what I could see. So what's it look like out the box? Huh, that is interesting. That is different. All right, how do you set the time? I guess you set it through the buttons and then you can set it through the phone app, I believe. Carbon core guard, 200-meter water resistance. And what is interesting about this is, I think it's a beautiful design. I think this looks like a really nice watch. I think it's prettier than most of these. Maybe not the Casio. Well, I'd say, there are other variations of this, but I would say this looks as good as the Casio, if not a little bit better. It's a little bit beefier, just a little bit thicker, but it's certainly nicer, I think, looking than these other ones. It definitely looks like more like your higher end G-Shocks, the ones that are 200 plus. It hinges and quick disconnects. Oh, that's cool. So not only, all right, so you take this apart, you got your big mud guard kind of buttons, and I can go in and set the time. And I believe this one, is it Bluetooth capable? I'll have to see. It's got 200-meter water resistance for sure. I'll go and set this later while I'm sitting on the couch dicking around with it. Let's get rid of a disc. You know what? Come on. I don't want to tear or break something. There we go. I know this is boring to watch me struggle to take off a freaking tag, but it is what it is, folks. Roll with it. So I like the yellow color. Here it's like, ooh, yellow, but you're not going to always see that. You're just going to see the highlights. So let's get it on the wrist. We'll go through the features and functions that this bad boy has. In fact, while I'm doing that, let's do what I should have done before the goddamn video. Casio. And this is what, the GA2000. All right, let's see if we can pull up some specs while we are talking. Dun, 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 dun. So what is this? This is the lineup. All right, so features. It's got carbon core guard, 200-meter water resistance. This one is not solar, so you do have to take it apart and change the battery every once in a while. But you got quick disconnects, which means I think this is probably like a 24. That means you can use other straps without having to get the converters to go from this to, a regular mount, which means I've got a whole, now I don't think I have any 24s, but if you have a watch collection, you're going to have a strap collection at some time. So I could go get different colored straps or leather, or I could put a NATO strap. Actually, if I just got the bigger bars, I could put the bars in there and get the bigger NATO strap. That's very cool. That is the first G-Shock that I've personally seen that has a quick disconnect and uses standard lugs. I like that a lot. You got your LED down button on the bottom here, although it's in a really well-lit room, so I don't know how good it's going to work, but there you go. We'll have to set that for 3 seconds. I believe you can change those settings. So you've got alarms, you've got stopwatches, you've got your seconds being displayed down here. Now, admittedly, this is a largely analog watch that is going to have some digital stuff. You got the date, it's using the reverse LED. So I don't know how usable the actual stopwatch is going to be. So there's your universal time. Apparently this thing rotates to let you know what feature it's on. So there is a stopwatch beep. We got our hundredths of a second down here and then your stopwatch up there. So it's small, but it's usable. Reset. Go into the next mode. That would be our 10-minute timer counting down. Then we can set an alarm. Maybe you can see that. It is a very small display. I'll try to get it at an angle that the camera's catching it. There's your date, which is wrong. It's set for tomorrow, so I'll have to go set the time. This one, I believe, it's hard to read because it's just yellow here, but I believe this one is made in Japan. So this is not one of the, like the cheaper ones here that are made in Thailand. This one's made in Thailand. The Casio and this one might be made in Japan. I don't know. I'd have to go take them off and look at it. From a size perspective, it's just a little bit thinner than that, but it's just a little bit bigger, but it's not as beefy and chunky as the 9300, I think this one is. So it's just a little bit more svelte. I like the touches of the metal-ish, or maybe that's plastic. I don't know. Those things actually spin. That's kind of cool. They're nice and grippy, so you can feel them. It weighs very, very light, and I like the fact that you can almost put it flat on a table. You cannot do that with any other G-Shock. Now, some people say that, well, I think some people, Casio says they do it that way because if you drop it, this acts as an extra spring. There's no way for it to really hit the back. Even if it's not clasped, the way these things just naturally fold, it's going to hit somehow, and it's going to bounce and provide some spring for shock absorption and to keep the back from taking a hit. This one, it's got metal underneath the plastic, so as opposed to just having the metal that could dent. So maybe this one doesn't need it. And it still hits like that. I mean, I guess it could slap if it hit just right, but if it hits like that or like that, it would have to literally fall and land exactly flat. I don't know if it's going to be a problem. I would assume because it's a G-Shock, they tend to know what they're doing at this point. That is a really nice looking watch. They have them in a couple colors. There's one with a teal blue. The strap is nice and comfortable. It's a little more rubbery than their normal resin, but not that much. It feels like a similar material. That looks cool. I think that looks awesome. You know, I might play with some NATO straps, and just a black NATO strap I think would look awesome on that. I'll have to measure the lug. If this is a 20, I'm guessing that's going to be a 23 or a 24. I'll get out the calipers and measure it, or just look it up. Battery life on this is supposed to be good. I don't know if it takes 1 or 2 batteries. I'll have to look that up in the specs. But it is, let's see, can I pull up the specs? There's the design. Bi-level molded band, dual layered case back, which is nice. It's got the metal screw down, 200 meter water resistance. It's got a disc dial, a matte complication to show you what your current watch mode is in, super illuminator, high brightness LED, large button on the front so you can get to it very easily. Cool. And it has a hand retraction function. So if you're going to use something that requires this, like the stopwatch, I believe if your hour or minute hand was covering the seconds where you wouldn't be able to see it, it'll move them out of the way for you when you put it into that mode. When it's not in that mode, or when it's not covering it, it won't need to do that, so it'll leave them where they are. It's just little things that they thought about, which I think is really, really kind of cool. So I'm looking for the actual specs, and I'm just not seeing it. Casio's website can be a little funky trying to find some of the stuff. It'll list the features and things, but then when I want to go into the actual specs, I'm not seeing it on this page. So rather than dick around with it, I'll just put a link in the description. That is a really nice, comfortable watch. Sits nice on the wrist. It's very light. For a fairly big watch, it's so light, it's not weighed down by like all this metal, or especially if you had one of these with a bracelet. It's just one of the more interesting ones. I've always liked the Casio, but for me, it's a little small. And the one I got is frankly a little boring. I should have gotten one that's got a different colored case. It's not just all black with the little white hands. To me, that just looks a little muted. Now, some people like the stealth or blacked out version, the tactical military, I guess, because it doesn't produce a glare or anything like that. Okay, I'm with you. I probably should have gotten a different one. And I think if I had, I would wear this more because I do like the look of analog watches. Digital's cool, and obviously I've got some. I do like them, but as far as what aesthetically really more appeals to me, definitely I like analog watches. And that's where some of these G-Shocks are really kind of cool because you get the analog look, which makes it look a little more classy-ish, but you still get the stopwatch and the date and the day of the week, and it just has I believe it has world functions, so you've got other time zones and things like that. You got all that stuff, daylight savings time, a backlight. You got some really cool stuff going on there, and I think aesthetically that's a really beautiful looking sport watch. I like that all this stuff is replaceable, so if you scratch it, gouge it up, bang it up, pull those screws out, you could buy a new cover and pop it on. You may even be able to get different colors and pop it on and, dress the watch up. Same thing on the back. When you go to change the battery, you're going to remove those screws. That's going to come off, and then there's going to be 4 other screws that hold on the metal back plate. So you got double layers of protection, really awesome water resistance, nice recessed crystal. Yeah, it's mineral, it's hardened mineral, it's not sapphire, but it is recessed, so if you lay it down on the table, unlike a lot of other watches that sit proud, especially when you got the Cyclops, you're going to be laying it down on the glass. Here you're not. None of these. All of these are recessed, some more than others, but nonetheless, I like that. I think that is a fantastic looking watch. I would love to see one of these in red. I'm going to see if I can buy different parts to change up the colors. I think that would look really, really sharp. Although, well, maybe I have to keep it yellow because of the... But if I can find like a black with just a little bit of yellow in a NATO strap, that's going to look righteous. That's going to look really freaking cool. So I'm excited about this one. I got a lot of cool watches, some cheap. When I say some more expensive, I mean the most expensive watch. If you didn't get it on sale like I did, you'd have to spend $600. So we're not talking about any watches I have that are what you would call expensive. Especially not in the world of smartwatches, where the average smartwatch is $200 to $450, So my watches are right in line with that. I just have a lot of them. So right now I've probably got $5,500 worth of watches, but that's 23 watches. A lot of watches for your money. Of my G-Shocks, I like the Casio. I don't know. I mean, this seems, when I think of like Tag Heuers or some of the more sporty Tissot's, when I think of sport watches, like this looks more like that. There's a lot more going on. It's fun. It's exciting. I like that. I wouldn't mind the digital parts being a little bit bigger, but then you diminish the other things that are going on here. You only got so much space. So I think they've done a pretty good job with it. Yeah, that is the GA2000. I'd never seen it. I've never heard of it before. I've always seen the Casios and some of the GA700s, some of the big analog digital ones. Obviously, I've seen the digital ones. I've got a couple of those. And then I was like, wait a minute, what is this one? This one doesn't use the same straps. They're quick disconnect. You can use NATO straps. You can use, leather. You can use whatever the hell you want as long as you get the right width. And the fact that this is toolless, the only tool here is me, but if I had a thumbnail that could get in there. But being able to, take those and remove them and that it flexes, like that'll conform to your wrist beautifully. That is a really cool design. I don't know why I don't see more of these around, honestly. I'm kind of surprised that this is a new Casio, to me anyway. But it is beautiful. So I'm going to go set the time and play with it and watch a video on how to set it up and all that crap. But check one of these out. They've got them in a couple different colors. They've got it in this. They've got one with carbon fiber. They've got one that has stainless steel with a black rubber strap. They've got, just with carbon and then blue anodized buttons. Now those ones are that's called the Gravity Master. That's gonna be the G. Well, let me take this back. There's the GA2000, then there's the GWRB 1000. As far as these go, I think these were offered in like 3 or 4 different colors, but that is a really awesome looking smartwatch. It's like G-Shock meets a Swatch watch in one. If I had to describe it to somebody, that's how I would describe that. So I'm gonna go set this bad boy up and go watch some TV and wait for my wife to come home. And yeah, if you guys are into motorcycle stuff, I don't know if I'm gonna take the car, but I'm going to the Deals Gap to the Dragon tomorrow. I haven't decided if I'm gonna take the Corvette up. Now I've got the first transmission service and the next oil change done, or if I'll take the Ducati up. Either way, I'm gonna have some video, so stay tuned for that. We'll see y'all later.